Hi, my name is Jay Sugarman, and I want to welcome you to Innovation Showcase. The main purpose of this ongoing series is to inform viewers about exciting innovations and creative individuals across the fields of business, science, technology, education, and the arts. Today, via Zoom, we're fortunate to have as our guest Stephen and Lana Newton. Stephen and Lana are the co-founders and operators of Home Run Ranch, a youth-focused nonprofit ministry located in Bells, Texas. They're also both lifelong Red Sox fans. As a way to create a fun, nostalgic, and community-driven space for family, friends, ministry students, and fans of baseball, Stephen and Lana built a replica of Fenway Park called Home Run Dugout, where people of all ages can play wiffle ball. During the program, we'll find out why and how this incredible replica of Fenway Park came about. We'll go on a behind the scenes tour and in the process come to better understand and appreciate how this personal passion project has earned local and national media attention. Let's start by meeting Stephen and Lana. Welcome. So delighted you're able to be here.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Good to meet you.
You know, as a longtime Red Sox fan, it was so exciting to first come across the creation of your ballpark, to hear more about the incredible detail that you've taken. So exciting to find out about it and have you inform viewers. But before we jump right to that, also like to see if you might want to share briefly anything else about your backgrounds, professional or other interests. Stephen?
Yes, well, I've been a financial advisor for 29 years. So that's what I've done literally since I was 19 years old. I got all my financial licenses. One of the younger people probably to ever get all their financial licenses. I did that when I was 19 years old. So that's what I've done. That's what helps finance Home Run Ranch here, is me being a financial advisor. And then I've been a lifelong baseball fan. My grandfather and Stan Musial sat at the same table and signed with the Cardinals back in the, I think, 39,
Wow.
38, 39. So I grew up learning the finer points of the game, as my grandfather, my late grandfather would say. So I grew up watching a lot of baseball, playing a lot of baseball.
Well, like the Red Sox, the Cardinals have a very rich history as well, that's for sure, in baseball. Lana, how about you? A little
Okay,
bit.
I was a school teacher and then a stay-at-home mom. Stephen and I have been married for 23 years. We have an 18-year-old son who's going into his senior year. He's obsessed with baseball. It's just what we do. But when he was born, I became a stay-at-home mom and then started this ministry. So that's what I do full time.
One fabulous, fabulous. Well, let's get right to it. What inspired you to build a wiffle ball field in the first place, and then the replica of Fenway Park?
Yes. Well, I grew up playing wiffle ball in the backyard. You know, wiffle ball was invented so kids wouldn't get in trouble breaking windows, basically,
Yeah.
and invented up in Connecticut. And so I grew up playing wiffle ball. Our son, as she mentioned, our son started playing wiffle ball. That's how he learned how to play baseball. He's going to end up playing in college after next year. He's got a full scholarship to play college baseball. So we're excited for
Oh,
him.
fantastic.
He grew up playing wiffle ball in the backyard. So when we bought, we lived in just a typical neighborhood with a small backyard. So we bought this land 9 years ago. His first thoughts were, "Man, Dad, we could have a bigger wiffle ball field." Now, that was not in our mind at all to build anything like this. So, but that's how it started. Yeah, that's how it started for sure. Was we got the land and we thought, hey, we've got a little bit more space here to have a little bit bigger wiffle ball field where we don't have porches and trees and things like that in the way and neighbors' fences. And my son, as he got bigger and better at baseball, he started hitting so many home runs on our neighbor's fence that my neighbor put a gate in. So we'd have to quit going around and knocking on his front door to ask permission. He just put a gate in the backyard so we could go through and get the home runs.
You know, I think for many people, this is their first view of the field. And I think it's just mind-blowing because when you say, oh, you've done a replica, but to actually see this, and I mean, nothing like it is up close and in person, which draws people from all over the country and beyond, I believe. Um, just amazing. A little bit about how you began the process. I know later we're going to see some wonderful images of the nitty-gritty that went into it, but how did you even begin from the initial idea, the suggestion, to have a field to accomplish something like this?
Yeah, well, we again we had room to build a little bit bigger wiffle ball field, and I saw the picture of the famous Little Fenway up in Vermont. And when I saw that picture, somebody tagged me in a story about it. And as soon as I saw the picture, I was like, "Oh man, we could build that here. We could build a version of that here." And I reached out to Pat O'Connor, who's the original owner up there. He doesn't own it anymore. He sold and moved south a few years ago. But I reached out to him, and he quickly fell in love with our mission and what we're trying to do here with high school students. And he said, anything you need from me to help replicate what we did down there, let us know. He said, there's two things that he would have done. There's two things. He said, there's two things you guys should do that I didn't do. Number one, you should build everything in metal. He said, with the weather up here, I'm constantly having to paint or replace rotting wood. So we built ours in all metal. And then he said, I'm constantly having to work on grass up here with our weather. So he said, if you could do turf. But he said, you better be ready. If you build it like I'm telling you with your mission and all that, you're going to have a lot of people in your front yard, and you'll be able to play year round with your weather and that turf. So that's kind of how it started. Um, as far as it being Fenway, I was born into being a Red Sox fan at a very rough time in 1986. So I grew up north of Houston. So I grew up going to Astro games in the Astrodome, and the Astros were always on radio. The Atlanta Braves were always on TV. So I was the biggest Braves and Astro fan. Me and my little brother, every World Series in the backyard was always Braves versus Astros. Then in 1986, I hate to bring that up. All the Boston fans are cringing right now. It's become an emotional time. But in 1986, my beloved Astros lost that classic 1986 NLCS to the Mets. I call them the Mutts. But anyway, they're a four-letter word still. And I said I was heartbroken. I was 10 years old, first sports tears I ever cried. And I said, whoever's playing the Mets in the World Series is going to be my new favorite American League baseball team. And of course, we all know it was the Red Sox. And a total side note, this weekend, our son's playing travel baseball, and we play against the team that's coached by Calvin Sherrardi, if you can even imagine that, right? Of course, he had
Yeah.
a very historic role in that painful series too. So I've been a
Yes.
Red Sox fan since I was 10. And then if you see just to the left of that picture, you can see a white pipeline. There's some unsightly things on the land next to us. There's a pipeline, there's a city water tank and a shed, and they don't keep it up real nice. So Fenway is the best stadium in the world, it's the most iconic stadium in the world. And there's a lot of ugly stuff next to us. So what better way to cover that up than the Green Monster? So we built it for two reasons. One, it's Fenway, and two, Big Green Wall hides a bunch of ugly stuff on the land next to ours.
Well, it looks fabulous. You know, fortunately, it took a while, but fortunately, four World Series later, after 86, I think most of us are pretty much over the 86 loss, but it does still sting, as you mentioned, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yes, absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
Lana, before we hear more about the park, could you share the other motivation and what's turned out to be incredibly positive effect, and that's the ministry work that you are involved with?
Right. Well, and that's another reason that the field is what it is now too. So it was in 2017. I decided that I felt like the Lord was telling me to start a Bible study in our living room for high school students. And so I did that. And our first Bible study, then we had 12 kids. And so we put 12 kids in our living room. It was a really focused small group on just helping kids figure out how to make decisions and live life, not based on the rules their parents give them or based on what their parents say they should do, but based on what scripture says and what the Lord would want. And so it was awesome. And it started growing gradually every week. And we started getting bigger and bigger. We were still hosting it in our living room. And right before COVID, we had about 75 kids in our living room every Sunday night. And it was crazy. And they were everywhere. And it was awesome and fun. But when COVID happened, the schools called and said, hey, you cannot have 75 kids in your living room. You have to come up with something else. And so we poured a big patio with a fire pit, and that's awesome when the weather is cooperative. And that's very few times in Texas. It's either too hot, too cold, raining, or so windy that you can't even sit outside. I mean, that's just kind of what we deal with all the time. And so I started thinking about having a building that I could use as my ministry building. And we do actually have that now. It's called the Dugout. That's the building part. And then something for the kids to do to get outside. It kind of shifted our attention to what are we going to do to get these kids outside and hanging out together and having fun. And so we built the Dugout. We built the football field. If you can kind of see in that picture that you have on the screen, there's a basketball court back behind that. Everything is lighted so that these kids can use this all year long. And if the weather's bad, we can go inside. If the weather's good, we're outside. And so now it's continued to grow. Now we have between 120 to 150 students Sunday night. They everywhere, different schools. They're getting to do things they otherwise wouldn't have done. It's just completely awesome.
That's fabulous. That's fabulous. And as we'll hear, the field is used by so many groups. And let's get back and just hear, Stephen, a little bit more about the features that we see here. I mean, the Fenway Park wall, the green monster, as you mentioned, is featured prominently. But if we look in the background, how did the Citgo sign make its way to Bells, Texas?
Yeah, well, there are actually a few Citgo gas stations in Texas, but they're way down in the Houston area. But you can't build this field without having a Citgo sign, right? And if you notice, we just added the golf sign about a month ago. I realized, you know what, we need to have the golf sign over there, and that was partly too to see if I could get Citgo or golf to try to donate some money to our ministry, right? So I put that golf logo over there too, right? But no, the field opened in October of 21, and we were just waiting for trying to find a Citgo sign, and they're pretty hard to find in Texas, and they're very expensive too. They're several $1,000s, and there is a big sign trader group where they go around the country collecting and swapping and trading old gas station signs and Coca-Cola signs, all kinds of stuff. Well, two of our former Bible study kids their brother he's one of the main guys in the group, and they literally do this. They're kind of like what's that?
Pickers.
Pickers. They're kind of like pickers. They just drive all over the country doing this stuff. But he posted in the group and said, hey, this is a really cool youth ministry. They built this Fenway Park. They need a Citgo gas sign. Who has one? Well, I grew up in this small town in East Texas called Lufkin, and a guy from Lufkin that I don't even know, he commented on there and said, hey, I've got one on my front porch, and I'll donate it to them. I'm coming to Dallas in a few weeks. If they'll meet me at the big sign swap show, I'll give it to them. So couple of weeks later, we drove to Texas Motor Speedway out north of Dallas, and he gave us the sign. And then a local builder named Jason Elk, he sent his crew over to install it for us and got it all lit up.
That is incredible, incredible. How'd you decide on the many dimensions? What was your game plan for that?
Yes, well, nothing spectacular. We copied Pat's field and we used his exact dimensions. He sent us everything. He sent us the dimensions, so we just used his. So if you look at the numbers on our field, the white numbers represent Fenway, and the yellow numbers represent the distances here at Home Run Ranch. And then if you'll notice in right field, it's been pointed out by countless Red Sox fans that we do not have the dimensions all the way to the right by pesky poles. So we are getting those installed in the next week or two. We'll have the pesky pole dimensions in the far right corner. So sorry, Red Sox fans, that we missed that one small detail there. We'll get it fixed.
That's terrific,
Absolutely.
terrific.
I was going to say the other thing with that picture on the screen there is the scoreboard. Those are 6 actual real baseball games in baseball history. The starting pitchers' jersey numbers. The Red Sox fans, all of us can definitely recognize the second one down on the right hand side. That was, of course, Game 7 in 2004. The comeback from being 3-0 down to the team we don't mention out loud around here. So, but those are all real baseball games.
And what's really cool is we have that wall is metal. So people we have magnets, and so they can, for you to keep score, go out and put their score on there. It's a nod to the scoreboard.
Oh, that's fabulous. That's fabulous. I mean, as you know, in the real Fenway Park, the fun little behind the scoreboard machinations and little folklore that goes on behind there is just another quaint part of the stadium. And I mean, again, this is just so tremendous. The green monster seats, unbelievable. Just
Yep.
a very few words, because we have some wonderful images here to show how things began from the beginning. What was involved and what was the process, as you could just speed us through, like from actual saying, okay, we're going to start, and then we end up with this incredible stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the first time we had a welder come out, and I was like, "Here's what we're gonna do." And I showed him a picture, and he's like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, we're just gonna build it right here, man. Why not? Let's just YOLO, right? Let's build this thing." And so, but we broke ground on August 25th of 2021, and the turf was installed on October 10th, just a couple months, less than 2 months later.
Ah,
And then we opened the first time we played in the field was right after that. So yeah, it only took about 2 months to actually build it.
oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, it built really, really fast. Yes.
We have concrete, we had to first pour concrete sidewalks because this is just raw land, and so we had to have a way for people to get around. And I think in my mind that and the dirt work took forever. Just planning, like, what does this look like? How do we make this to where it is cool, but still, I mean, we live here, so it's gotta be,
Yeah.
it's gotta be functional too. So
Yeah. That was the night they finished the turf there. So yeah.
And then, in addition to the field, made reference earlier to the dugout. What was involved with that process?
Well, that picture that's on the screen right now, that concrete was our driveway. And so we had to move our garage doors. And then we built the dugout building on top of what was our driveway and half court basketball. And so the builder, it made more sense to just build it right there to tie into water and all the things that you don't think about when you're designing this dream scenario. But so that was really actually pretty easy, a pretty easy build. The challenge that we're having now is that we are almost to the point where we need to add on. We are busting at the seams with kids. And so we're trying to decide right now, like, do we add on? Which way do we add on? What does that look like? I mean, it's always something around here, but the dugout, I love the field. I do love the field. And sometimes I stand out there and I think, this is insane. Like, we are insane. We have a lighted little miniature Fenway Park in our front yard. But I love the field, but the dugout's my favorite part. Because that's where I do my favorite thing, about
Right. And these next few images and epitomize what you were saying, uh, Lana, about the growth. I think this is one of an early on shot of your work
yeah,
with.
I don't know if that's the first one Steven's saying. He thinks it's the second one. But yeah, that was pretty manageable. But as that group grew, that one that met in our house, you can see my kitchen cabinets and they go all the way around like a U, but there would be kids sitting on top of those. There were kids in pallets on the floor. All the way behind that row of seats is a maybe like how many feet, like 20 or 30 feet to the front door. We would just line that with chairs. We would take out our living room furniture to make room for more chairs. So it was insane what we were doing. And then that's now. Yeah.
And
Man,
that's only I think 114 kids. Our record is 143, 143, 145 is our record. We hit that last December.
And we don't have a picture of that because getting 143 high schoolers together in a small space to take a picture without somebody doing something stupid is not my favorite thing.
Yeah.
So just imagine that there's more kids there because we probably won't take one of 140.
it's interesting you say that because doing a quick eyeballing of the picture and I say, gee, this looks amazing. They all look fabulous. And
What you don't see is me screaming, don't do anything stupid. Don't, yeah.
And that wall with the TV on it, our two garage doors were right there.
Yeah.
And we moved them around to the west wall of the garage and just rerouted how we go in the garage. And that was our half court basketball court. So we just built the building on top of that to save money. Again, we're self-funded. We saved all the money to do the field and the building, all that kind of stuff along the way. We had a special family in Georgia actually call us up and say, hey, we want to help you finish the building. How much do you need? And they helped us finish the building. So, but largely been self-funded all these years. So we try to be creative we try to be our own best Dave Ramsey as we build and do all this stuff for sure. So
if you build on top of a basketball court, then the basketball kids are gonna request a new basketball court. So that's why we have a new basketball.
But they won. They got a full court out of the deal.
Yeah, it was only a court. Now we've got a full court. So
yeah,
that's fabulous. Well, we have lots more to still talk about, but we have to take advantage of some live action here just to see briefly people using it. Look at the crowd here. What is the occasion here for this clip that we're just going to watch briefly?
Yeah, there's a great group out of Dallas called the Texas Wiffle Ball League, and they take it real serious, Jay. They keep all the stats. I mean, they keep all their stats.
Oh, wow.
But you have to qualify to be an all-star. Well, every year we host their all-star event, and they come in and they do some fun stuff with all the neighborhood, any kids that want to come out. But then they play their all-star game with jerseys, the whole thing, and then they have their home run derby. And we've hosted that event for 3 years now. And then just this past Tuesday, we had the dancing umpire from the Savannah Bananas here. He came out with a fundraiser for a local group that was looking to raise some money for a mission trip. So that's the other thing that Lana does is she lets so many different groups come use the field to help raise money for whatever their cause is and their mission.
Well, to get anybody from the Savannah Bananas to attend an event is a real coup. They were just a couple of weeks ago, they happened to be at Fenway Park,
Yes.
entertaining a sold out crowd. It was incredible.
Yeah, I think every crowd is sold out for them.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to get tickets.
So he was at the real Fenway, and then literally the next week he was at the Texas miniature version here. So yeah.
That's great. That's great.
He actually grew up about 2.5, 3 hours east of here. That guy did.
Terrific. And this is a really nice shot of the complex and the features that you've been mentioning, the full basketball court, of course, the ballpark, the dugout. just a wonderful use of your land. What's it like when, say, Red Sox fans or others who are really excited about baseball visit? Can you share reaction, feedback, anything that comes to mind?
Stephen has a lot of stories about that, but my favorite one, and I'll tell it, and then you can tell another one if you want. Was we did a radio interview on a local sports radio station on a Sunday morning, and it was our first time we ever did anything like that. It went okay. We got home, and then this van pulls up, and this little old man gets out, and he's got a Red Sox jersey on. He has a little dog, and he just gets out and he stands and he looks at it for a minute. So we walk out trying to see like, what's up. And he didn't say anything else. He just handed Stephen his cell phone and he said, "Take my picture by the green monster. I'll never get to see the real one."
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, like that. I just love that.
Yeah, we've had probably 4 or 5 of those where people like, I'll never get to the real one, and this is just great. And we had a guy pull up, get out of a suit. He's probably 75 years old, 70, 75. He gets out and he just is complimenting us on the field, and he said, "Yeah, I know Carl Yastrzemski, and I know Dwight Evans," and he starts naming all these '70s Red Sox, and he goes, and I'm like, "Yeah, whatever. I mean, like, you can just come out and tell me anything, whatever." And then he goes, "Yeah, I know all their kids," and I go, "Hang on a second. Now, that's one thing you saying you know these famous people, but how do you know their kids?" He goes, "My dad was the pediatrician for the Red Sox in the '70s." He goes, "He worked on all the staff, all the employees, all the kids. He worked on all
Wow.
their kids." So he goes, I knew them all, man. He said, "You've done a great job here." And he got up on in the seats on top of the Green Monster, the whole deal. And I took a bunch of pictures for him. He got back in his car and drove off. So, yeah.
And then this weekend, we what's really cool is the Lord's so faithful to us. Like I never marketed this for rental. But people would ask me like, "Hey, can I rent it for my son's birthday party?" So we let them do that. I don't charge very much, but I use all of that money to fund the ministry now. And so it's been amazing to see the Lord just be faithful and providing for us like that. For a while it was just us pouring our personal money in, which I did not mind because it's our passion and what we wanted to do. But now, I mean, we have people supporting us through rentals of the field. But this kid, it was like 2 days ago, his mom is unloading and decorating, and he goes, "Do you live here?" And I said, "I do." And he said, "I just want to tell you, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my entire life."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
okay, I'm so glad that you like it. So Stephen went in and got him a box of baseball cards and
Oh,
brought him out there. I mean, it's just those little moments, like
but
some.
there's so many. The impact you've had is incredible from the ministry, of course, but all these baseball, especially Red Sox fans, uh,
Yeah.
young boys or girls growing up who want to be part of an experience like this. It's wow, incredible accomplishment, both of you. There's so much more we could still talk about, but unfortunately, we've come to the end of the program. I want to thank both of you so much for taking the time to be here, for sharing this incredible adventure that is just gaining more steam as we talk. Look forward to following it. Hope I'm fortunate someday, even though I've been to the real Fenway, would definitely
Come on
love
down.
to
Welcome.
Yeah.
Anytime.
visit Bells, Texas to
Come
see
on.
your stadium for sure. But for now, just want to congratulate you and wish you continued success with future endeavors.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jay.
Also want to thank those of you watching for joining us and hope you'll be able to tune in next time.